Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Akira and this is my corner. So today I'm going to be doing a review and swatches on the Jaclyn Hill times Morphe palette. I think these are one of the iconic palettes that have been released this year. If you want to see my opinion on this palette and if you want to see swatches of all the shades in this palette, then just keep watching. Don't forget to click that subscribe button while you're at it, and yeah, just keep watching to see my thoughts on this, and let's just get straight into it. So it's funny because you can see that there's an empty space in this corner of my cupboard, and that's because I had to put my palette back into its box. So the palette comes in a cardboard box and is completely white, and in silver writing it says the Jaclyn Hill palette and it says Morphe. On the back, it has 4 photos of Jaclyn and a note from her. So I'm just going to read what the note says. Basically, it says, creating this palette has truly been a dream come true for me. Morphe gave me full creative control and allowed me to customize my dream palette for everyone to enjoy. Every shade was customized by me, and I really hope you guys love it as much as I do. I wanted a range of neutrals, pops of colors, to accommodate for all skin tones. I put my heart and soul into this palette, and I hope my pickiness pays off. XO Jaclyn. I think it's really sweet that she put a message on the back of the palette. I know that she does this even with the Champagne Pop Becca collab. She did that. So let's just open the palette. So when you open it, it's literally just a cardboard box, and it is a cardboard palette. I'm just gonna put my box back into its safe corner because, you know, it makes me happy when it's here. There you go, things are good. So this is what the palette looks like. It is basically just a standard white palette, and it's exactly the same as the outer box packaging. It says the Jaclyn Hill palette in silver, and it is a white packaging. It is cardboard, as you can hear. It's not plastic. On the back it says Morphe x Jaclyn Hill, and it has all these JHs all over. This is in a gray color. One issue that I have is the packaging. I don't like the fact that it's a cardboard package. As you can see here, I have like foundation all over it. So I also had to clean this palette before I even filmed this video because I did have like fingerprints from foundation on it. So my only issue with this would be the fact that it's cardboard. If it was plastic, it would be so much easier to clean. That would be my only issue. So we're gonna open the palette, and when you open it, you get a cover for your palette, and then you see this beauty of a palette. So this is the palette, and on the inside it says, this palette is dedicated to all my loving subscribers, XO Jaclyn. Like the OG Morphe palettes, this basically has 35 shades like all the other Morphe palettes. As you can see, they're a whole different bunch of shadows, a lot of shimmery shades, a lot of matte shades, pops of color here and there, and I'm just gonna go through each line and we're gonna swatch each line of shadows so you guys can see live type swatches of these shadows look like, and you can really see what the color payoff is for all these shadows. So we're just gonna get into it row by row. So the first row, for the first half of the row, it has very neutral colors, very, you know, kind of colors to set your eyes, and then the last 3 colors are all shimmery colors, and they are all shimmery pink colors. So the first row is a very light row, and I think it's a very neutral row. So for the second row, it actually goes immediately, starts to become very warm. We have very mustard tones, we start coming into the red tones, and we also have 2 shimmer colors on this row. I really do love this row because the stable matte colors in this row are amazing. So many transition colors that you can use on so many different skin tones. For the next row, we have a little bit more of shimmery colors, and I would say this row has more red and brown undertones to it. So there's a lot of shimmer and a lot of it is red. Definitely the red colors in this row are my favorite. They are so pigmented, they are so beautiful. I love the way that this row looks. So for the next row, this is where we start having our pops of color. We have a purple shade, we have a blue shade, and then we have staple shimmery shades. So we have a gold shade, a brown shade, and we also have matte staple shades. So this is also another really good row because you can create an eyeshadow look just from these shadows alone. So the last row I think has the most color in it, and this is where we have our turquoise tones, and we also have green tones, and then we have our darkest colors. So we just have a matte brown, a matte purple, and a matte black, and that is a staple I think in every palette. So now that we're done with the swatches of everything, we're just gonna get into my actual thoughts on it and my review about this palette. So I'm just gonna go through a few points on this palette just to give you guys my overview and what I think of it. So firstly, we're gonna speak about the pigmentation. I think that these shadows have incredible pigmentation. I find that there are certain shadows that have more pigment than others. I find that some shadows, like the shimmery ones, need a little bit more pickup than other ones do. So I think it varies per the color of the eyeshadow, because some of the shadows will be incredibly pigmented just by touching it once. Some of them you have to dig into it a little bit more, and with the shimmer sometimes you might have to use your finger and apply it. But overall, I think that it is a really pigmented palette. If I do use like Fix Plus or a setting spray to apply a shimmer shadow, which I did do today for the top lid, I think you could do the same thing even without it. I just like that extra pop of color that it gives. Secondly, we're going to speak about blendability. So for me, my first concern was the blendability of the matte shades, especially because it's such a pigmented palette. Because the first time I used it, I was actually so surprised at how pigmented it was. It literally, there was so much pigment, I was scared that it wasn't going to blend out. But it blends out really well, and I would say for a drugstore or a affordable palette, it does blend out really well. I cannot compare something like this to an Anastasia palette, for instance, because those shadows blend out so easily. Having said that, this palette does blend out easily. I don't struggle blending out these shadows, but it does take a little bit of work because there's so much pigment to these shadows. So if you're going to use a palette like this, you just need to be aware that there's so much pigment. You just shouldn't apply too much product. You should apply and you should build up on the product on this palette rather than taking everything and then just like put it on your eye. Another point that I want to make is the longevity of the shadows. I've used this on a day that I went somewhere, I think in the afternoon, and I came back at night, and when I came back home, the eyeshadow was still on my eye, and I think I did a red makeup look. So I literally, my eyes were red, and I used the red shimmer shadow, and I don't know, I kind of expected a red shadow to fade away because of the nature of the color. Something that's that bright, I wouldn't expect to keep pigment or like keep longevity on my eyes. And I kid you not, I came home and I took a picture of my eyeshadow when I was at home, and it was exactly the same as when I left in the afternoon. So I would say that these shadows have like really good staying power, which is quite impressive, because I wouldn't typically expect that, especially from an affordable eyeshadow palette. I didn't actually expect it to actually have longevity, and it did, which was a nice surprise for me. So, you know, that's for me was a great surprise. So the next thing I'm going to comment on is kind of the diversity and the easiness to use this palette. This palette, I think, I can't even explain. It's probably something that is a staple. I think someone that likes warm tones and that likes colors, I think everyone could love this palette. It's such an easy palette to love because you have your pink tones. I've done pink makeup eye looks with this. You have your red tones, you have gold tones, you have taupe colors, you have gold, you have blue, purple, turquoise, green. I've created so many different makeup looks just from using this, and it's so easy to use. I think this is something that you could travel with, and you could go somewhere for months and just use this palette because you can create so many different looks with something like this. And the fact that she created so many matte tones, it makes it so easy to use, and it's something that is such a great palette to have. I honestly, there's nothing that I could say that's bad about these shades. I love every one of the shades that she included. The only thing I would say is maybe like these two light shades. I wouldn't particularly use these two light shades because my skin tone is too dark, but in comparison to most shadow palettes where you have 35 shadows in it, I would use a good amount of these shades rather than skipping out on a lot of them. So for me, I find that this is great, and that ties into our next point where we go into the value for money. There are 35 shades here, and out of this I would say maybe 2 of them I wouldn't use. So I would use 33 out of 35 shadows. If I use this palette on someone else's face, I would probably definitely pick up those shades. It's just that on my personal skin tone, it wouldn't work. But unless I want like a matte brow bone highlight or something like that, but for the most part, I think that this has definite value for money, especially considering the diversity of the palette, the different shades you get, the blendability, the matte tones, the shimmer tones. I think this has definite value for money. I know that this palette was more expensive than the other Morphe palette, but when I got this palette, I actually decided to skip out on the 35O because I thought this was a better put together palette. The 35O has a lot of shades that are so similar to each other, and also a lot of shades that I just wouldn't use. And when I looked at this, I was like, this has so much better shades. Like everything was put together in a better way for me personally, and I just like that about that. I like the fact that every shade was thought through, and I could see that this will suit all skin tones by the fact that she thought through this whole palette. That's about it about the Jaclyn Hill palette. So I know that this palette is not available in South Africa, and the way that I got this palette is that I ordered it through the Morphe website through Aramex, but I know that you can get this from places like Muse Beauty, and there are other online stores where you can get this where there are South African resellers, but I would suggest that you're very wary of where you buy this from because there are a lot of gimmick products. And if you do want to buy like a fake palette, I would just say be very wary because you don't know what those shadows are made of. That's why it is so cheap in comparison to the original palette. So I would just say be very wary about where you're buying it and make sure that it is an authentic reseller and not someone that's trying to rip you off. So yeah, other than that, I really hope that you guys like this review on this palette, and if you guys want to see any tutorials using this palette, please let me know. I know that it's not available in South Africa, but if you would like to see it, I will do tutorials for you guys. So if you want to see that, I will give that to you. But that is it for today. I really hope you guys like this video. Please don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!